Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofya Dorinskaya. I am a doctor, head of the Medical Information Center. At our center, we provide a nutritional deficiency program. In today's video, I want to answer questions from many of my channel's subscribers. Evidence-based medicine asks me to talk about the keto diet, what it is eaten with, what it is, and my general opinion. What is the keto diet? It is a nutritional dietary regimen characterized by a high concentration of healthy fats, moderate levels of proteins, and an exceptionally low or even almost non-existent intake of carbohydrates. In its earliest stages, it was originally created for children with childhood epilepsy, but it did not receive widespread clinical validation, and it did not really gain mainstream popularity. It didn't really spread, and overall its results are rather questionable. In cases of childhood epilepsy, what do people use this diet for? Why is it applied? And where does it even come from? Let's take a much closer look and break the process down. Whenever a person consumes a meal and eats food, the human body begins to extract vital energy from many different types of food sources, such as carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So when we metabolize carbohydrates and sugars, one type of metabolism is at work. But the body can also break down fats into ketone bodies or acetone. And the result of this breakdown needs to be eliminated from the body very efficiently. So in this case, we're looking at two systems. Let's examine how the body extracts energy. Yes, because energy can also be obtained from breaking down proteins. So, we frequently observe this specific type of altered energy metabolism in diabetic patients. Because if you take a close look at people living with diabetes, you will definitely notice that even their stored body fat begins to disappear, including all of the subcutaneous fat tissue located just beneath the surface. Eventually, they become almost just skin, and it truly feels like right underneath that thin layer is nothing but muscle. In other words, the body is unable to effectively extract energy from carbohydrates in people with diabetes, so it begins the process of drawing energy from fats instead. And in actual fact, this specific biological situation is very closely modeled in perfectly healthy people by following the strict ketogenic diet. From this, we can clearly understand that the human body must be exceptionally healthy and resilient, the body must be physically strong and robust enough, and the body must possess a sufficient abundance of metabolic resources to efficiently remove these ketone bodies from the system in a timely manner so that a person does not eventually develop any serious health complications or metabolic issues, a severe pathological condition that would land them in intensive care. And hopefully, as they say, they manage to save them. This is the point of the diet. To put it another way, and to explain the concept more simply, we are currently modeling the metabolic processes of a person living with diabetes. Why? Because such people lose their subcutaneous fat tissue. I find myself with a question that is exceptionally unique and novel, but I wonder, why is that? But tell me, why go through all of this trouble? Why is it that when we look at a person who is significantly overweight, dealing with physical swelling and a constant sense of sluggishness, we see someone who finds it so incredibly hard to just get up and start their day in the morning? But why would you start putting an already sick person on a restrictive diet meant for even sicker people, effectively forcing them onto the metabolism of those in an even more critical state? Why? I even have a question about the very idea of creating this keto diet for childhood epilepsy. But why? The overwhelming majority of childhood epilepsy cases are tetany in children with rickets. Childhood epilepsy is characterized by the fact that it goes away as the child grows up. Why? Because it's tetany in children with rickets, because the body, if the parents, generally speaking, are socially responsible and feed the child one way or another somehow, well, the child eats. It's a variety of foods, the body. One way or another, it gets enough vitamin D. And it's not just vitamin D. Rickets isn't only about vitamin D. It's basically about mineral metabolism in the body. Is disrupted. And I have one very important question for you. Why is this happening? If a person is currently struggling with a significant problem regarding excess body weight, the very first thing that we must look at closely is the overall decline of the body's internal energy system. The body's energy system is the endocrine system. The endocrine system is activated by two things: vitamins and physical activity. But as long as a person is experiencing vitamin deficiencies, they are unable to engage in any physical activity. At least not subject their body to anything more or less serious, because their vitamins will be used up for immediate needs rather than for eliminating deficiencies. In the early Soviet Union, when there were still highly competent specialists working, doctors, academicians in vitaminology, people with vitamin deficiencies, especially children, were hospitalized. Why restrict physical activity? They were kept on bed rest. Specifically so that vitamins would not be spent on immediate needs, but rather that vitamins and nutrition would be directed toward eliminating deficiencies. Therefore, what should a person do who wants to lose weight and realizes that their excess weight is pathological? The first thing they do is, while continuing to eat and increasing the amount of meat in their diet, they must eliminate nutrient deficiencies. They need to clearly identify which deficiencies they have. A professional should determine this, develop a program, guide this person through the program, answer their questions, adjust the plan if necessary based on follow-up tests, and continue to guide the person. If, while following a vitamin regimen to eliminate deficiencies, it turns out that the body reveals some problem, and this does happen, why is that? Because when there are nutrient deficiencies, the body simply doesn't have the strength to deal with certain pathologies. It doesn't have the strength. Often these are some kind of chronic inflammatory diseases. The body simply ignores them as if it doesn't even notice them. There is even such a concept in the case of severe illness, for example tuberculosis, where there are false negative test results. Why? Why do such test results occur? Because they happen in people who are malnourished and have vitamin deficiencies. Why? Because the body simply doesn't have the strength to produce the necessary amount of antibodies to fight tuberculosis. And when a test is conducted to detect these antibodies, it shows nothing. There is nothing there. There is an enemy in our body, but the body cannot cope with it. Again, if, after eliminating deficiencies, the body finally rises up, detects it, and finds the strength to deal with some long-standing latent pathology that it previously lacked the energy for, well, what then? Should you go running to the gym or something? No. What should you do? You need to keep addressing deficiencies, eat well, and what else? That's right, sleep, rest, and especially so. Don't worry about physical activity. Gradually, the swelling will start to go down, including internal swelling. Little by little, after the internal swelling subsides, the consequences of stagnant processes will begin to resolve. If a person had cysts due to vitamin deficiencies, the cysts will start to dissolve. Then what does it mean to dissolve? Cysts. It means that all diseases resulting from stagnant processes in these cysts begin to manifest. A person starts to feel a slight discomfort. The temperature may rise or may not, but it feels as if there is some kind of inflammation going on inside. And you want to lie down and you don't feel like going anywhere. But you shouldn't go to the gym, and you can't go to the gym in this condition. What should you do? That's right, eat and sleep. Eat and sleep. Take vitamins. You must strictly follow the daily regimen. Make sure to eat at least a full kilogram of high-quality meat every single day. Prioritize deep sleep, get plenty of rest, and consistently give your physical body exactly what it needs to recover. Simply do what you need to do. And after some time has passed, when a person finally starts to feel a sense of true joy again, they will naturally begin to feel and understand their own body much better. That's when the desire will appear, the urge to feel something. Well, the joy of having a body, if you can put it that way. Yes, that's when you gradually start adding physical activity. And also, it's important to understand that for such people, especially the cardiovascular system and the heart, are in a state of dystrophy. That's why no one ever starts with exhausting physical exercise. Pleasant, easy walks not far from home. Yes, not even to the point of slight fatigue. Little by little, because you need to start slowly to train while continuing everything else. And then after several months have passed, of course, it all really depends on the person's specific initial condition and ultimately what exactly it is that we're dealing with here, right? What exactly are we resolving in the body? If a person has also taken, God forbid, any psychoactive substances as a result of these vitamin deficiency related depressions, then you also have to take those medications into account, which means the recovery time increases even more. And only after that, while also realizing that even after discontinuing psychiatric substances, we will have to deal with a rebound effect. That's exactly why everything must be done gradually. Because how to deal with the rebound effect is still up to us. The protocol must be followed, and the rebound effect will inevitably appear. This is when toxins are released from the fat tissue, and the person experiences the same state as when they were taking those psychiatric medications. But now the body has vitamins, and vitamins act as non-specific detoxifiers. These are non-specific detoxifiers. They inactivate the toxins in the body that have been released from the fat tissue, and the process continues. Even if a new rebound effect appears, we still have a sufficient amount of nutrients and vitamins to inactivate these toxins. And in this way, gradually, this is the key word, the person reaches a new level of bodily functioning. Do you understand? It is certainly not as if we just simply take things. How should I put this? I don't want to say that all of you are sick, that all overweight people are sick, but still, most are, because being overweight is swelling, it's edema. You see, it's not fat. Because when everything is fine in the body, everything is balanced. Therefore, we must ask ourselves why we would deliberately and artificially force an already unhealthy body into a metabolic process that was originally designed by the body for a state of severe illness or disease. When we look at the reality of the situation, we are simply piling one complex problem right on top of another. And what will come of that? To be completely honest with you, I'll give it to you straight and without any sugarcoating. Because absolutely no one can predict how an already weakened and physically deficient body will react to a complex situation exactly like this one. No one can. Maybe you'll get away with it. Maybe you'll even lose weight. But for how long? How long will you be able to keep it up? If your body is still strong enough, it will show you how to live without sugar. Then you'll eat a piece of cake. But really, why do this when you can handle everything in a normal way, without any radical swings? Honestly, to tell the truth, always. Always. This is my opinion. Ask yourself why. And if someone offers you a solution, you should always think, does this solution actually address the problem? Because obviously this solution does not correspond to the problem, since the problem itself hasn't been defined, and the problem needs to be clarified with a specific person, because you see, there are no two identical people. I can't just say in a video, everyone drink this. I can mention some things, some signs, I can name them, but people can have vitamin deficiencies, and if they're taking medications, iatrogenic vitamin deficiencies, Honestly, people these days, I read about it, go to the pharmacy like it's a grocery store. I've personally heard about some people who, at home, just imagine a dining table. And it's just a regular dining table pushed up against the wall, and there are salt shakers, pepper shakers, napkins, and so on. But for some people, the entire part of the table touching the wall is covered with pills. And this is something my relative told me herself. She came to visit, sat down, and said, "My head hurts a little." She pulls out a pill for her from this pile of tablets. She asks, "Which pill? For your headache, since your head hurts." I want to tell you, with this kind of pharmaceutical consumption, vitamin deficiencies will always be present. Vitamin deficiencies will always be present because, my friends, all medicines are poisons. All of them, always. I'm not saying you should refuse to take medicine, but you need to understand the mechanism. A medicine is a substance that interferes with a specific mechanism, and the body always recognizes it as a poison. Absolutely all substances that are not inherent to the body's natural biochemistry are recognized as poisons. And the body has a mechanism for eliminating any poisons. That mechanism is vitamins. Vitamins are non-specific detoxifiers. It is precisely vitamins that inactivate all kinds of toxins that enter the body. Toxins, foreign, alien substances, these are all substances that are not natural to the body, or they may be present in extremely large amounts, like, for example, when we are now discussing this keto diet, the imbalance and so on, which can even lead to intensive care. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So in order for a person not to reach a state of intensive care due to these ketone bodies, they must have a sufficient amount of vitamins. Again, if they don't have any vitamin deficiencies, they're not overweight, they're not obese, they don't have any problems if they need to increase their level of physical activity. In order to bring the body into a more toned state, they go and do it. And the body responds perfectly to this because this is a complex system. It gets its nutrition, it receives its external hormones. The term that refers to vitamins. External hormones are not synthetically created pharmaceutical analogs of the body's hormones. External hormones is a term for vitamins. That's it. And the body must receive them in order for its energy system to function. So, my friends, if you really have this kind of problem, I think you need to approach solving it wisely. Therefore, come to us, eliminate the deficiency. We will help. We will help. The swelling will start to go down. You'll be eating, sleeping, stepping on the scale, and the swelling will still be going down. Look, I lost 3 kilograms. Everyone was happy. I was happy myself. What is that? The swelling went away. That's it. My friends, I hope I've shared my opinion about this diet. I don't think it's necessary. It's necessary to radically reconsider your diet. What a person should always eat every day is meat. Meat. Fruits. This is very important for meat, fruits, and some vegetables, well, essential carbohydrates. If it's porridge or noodles, they're always good, as they add a certain unique flavor to the dish. So the basis of the diet should be meat. Everything else is just little additions for flavor. That's how you eliminate vitamin deficiencies. That's it. And your body will work like clockwork. Because the body is a biological machine. And if you fuel this machine with the right substances, in principle, it can last quite a long time and be quite resilient. Durable, I would say. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to seeing all my viewers join us for the Vitamin Deficiency Elimination Program. Goodbye.